editing night. I am going to edit a few photos for you real time so you can see a bit of my editing process. I have been editing for over, sure, I would say 20 years already. I'm not saying I'm the best, very important, but I've done quite a lot in it. I've trained a lot of people in editing. I have my own editing team now. And my previous video, I have called out and gave an open invitation for people to send in their photos for critique and let me help them, and so they can better themselves and get some constructive criticism on their photos. So Yaku has sent in his photos. Yaku is very new in the photography, but he's doing very well already. So he's got a good knack for it, and he's got a good eye for photography. So I spoke to Yaku, and he agreed that I can make a video while I'm telling him the faults on his photos and what I think about the photos. And he sent me also the raw photos so I can edit them the way I would have edited them. Now, Yaku says his editing style is more to the natural side. He likes to have his photos more natural. But one thing he battles with is his photos are all over the place. And some of the photos, especially with skin tones and all of that, is all over the place. Now, I know why, because I asked Yaku what type of gear he has and everything. He has entry-level cameras. He's still new in the game, so it makes sense. So he wants to better himself, which is amazing. And he put himself out there, and he agreed that we can do this video. So I'm very excited to show you what we're going to do. So before I start editing, I want to make it clear that there's a lot of photographers that bargain on editing will save them, okay? So they take photos and hopefully they will be able to save the photos and make it amazing in editing, okay? And that, I mean, you can, but some photos just can't be saved. Okay, so we need to be serious and we need to be realistic about these things. And so the first thing we need to say is, if you want a smooth editing process and a smooth editing workflow, you need to take the photos correctly. I am very meticulous in the settings I use while I am taking photos. So I'm not going to go into detail about everything. It's very intense if we go into all the details about photography. That's why I'm doing these videos. We will get to all the nitty-gritties in later videos, but if you've been following me, go back and see. I've been giving tips and tricks about photography and while I'm shooting and all of that. Okay, so and there's coming a lot more of these videos. So the first thing, and I'm just gonna give a few tips on the most important things you need to have while you're shooting. The first one is we always shoot in RAW. If you don't know what RAW is, you can Google and YouTube it, and there's a lot of videos about the difference between RAW photos and JPG photos, okay? We never shoot in JPEG format, okay? And I'm not going to go into all the whys and all of this, okay? You can go, and we'll do videos on it later on, but for now, I want to keep this as short as possible. So always shoot in RAW mode. And this will help us in our workflow when we edit photos. We want a smooth editing workflow, All right. So the second thing is very, very important. And I'm focusing more on wedding photography. The other types of photography, we're not going to go into it right now. But the wedding photography is what we're focusing on now. So when I do a wedding, I don't shoot on auto white balance. Now, the problem is the entry level cameras, they have only, well, they have all the other white balance settings, but there's one setting they don't have. And that is the Kelvin setting. Okay. So when I do wedding photography, I shoot on the Kelvin setting. So Kelvin is the temperature of the light. And it gives me a much better control over my white balance. So the middle point of Kelvin is always 5,000. 5,000 is the middle point. Anything lower than 5,000 is the the photo, and the color of the photo, the temperature of the photo will be more to the blue side, the colder side. And when we go above 5,000, that will be more to the warmer side, the orange side of the photo. You can go play around with this if your camera allows that. If your camera don't allow that, it's a bit of a difficult situation. Okay. Then when you shoot on auto white balance, you will get photos that's more orange and some photos that's more blue. And because the camera constantly checks the light and changes the light, if a cloud goes over the sun, the white balance will change. Because the camera sees real time, the whole time, what the color of the environment is. So that's why we don't shoot on auto white balance, because then most of your photos will be different. And that makes the editing process so difficult. Then you can't batch edit then. Uh, you will have to edit each photo individually. Now, what I do is during a wedding, for instance, the family photos, the group photos, I will have on one setting. I will get my settings correct like I want it, and then I would not change any setting. Okay. And I will shoot the whole session of the family photos. And when I edit the photos, that whole section, I can batch edit. That means batch editing means I edit the first photo and I select all the rest of the photos, and then we copy the settings onto all those photos. And then that makes the speed of my editing much quicker. So we use Lightroom to edit the photos. Not everyone uses Lightroom, but for this video, we're going to use Lightroom. And yeah, so hang on. I'm going to show you real time. Just hold on for 1 second. Okay, so this is the photos that Yaku sent through, so I can critique them and give him some pointers. Now, again, I'm not the best photographer in the world. I don't believe there is such a thing. There are photographers that's great in the niches that they choose. For instance, Sarel van der Merwe, he's a very, very amazing photographer when it comes to low-key photography with cars. Go check him out. He's really, really amazing with that. A very inspirational photographer. So everyone has his own feel, and that's what you need to create and work on when you do your photography and further your photography career. You need to get to a point where you feel this is the art that I want to create. This is the path that I want to create. This is my style. This is my whatever, whatever. Okay, so not everyone has the same style. The thing with me is I shoot a variety of styles during a wedding, which my clients like. Not all the clients like that, and that's why not everyone books me. Okay, Some people like the light and airy photos. I don't do a lot of light and airy photos, but I still do them because I give my brides a bit of each. Okay, so this is the photos. There's a few that we're going to go through. This will be a bit longer video, so you can skip through stuff where I'm talking a lot. So, okay, let's start off with this photo. Now, this side is the raw photo. This is the edited photo that Yaku edited. It's not a bad photo. Now, again, I'm not going to go into a lot of the photography terms and the theory in photography and stuff like that. For instance, we want to, in photography, we want to have um, diagonals. Diagonals is very important in photography. It's very psychological in the mind. So diagonals is very important. This is diagonals. These plants that have the same thing, the same direction of the leaves. This is very good in photography. We want diagonals, okay? But this plant, I mean, there's one that's bent, stuff like that. It's a bit distracting, this one, because the mind likes diagonals. The mind likes things in the same direction. That's what diagonals is, three or more of the same thing in the same direction. Like that's why buildings with pillars is always a great place to shoot because those are diagonals. Your mind accepts the photo very quickly, and your mind tells you this is a beautiful photo. Okay, but because the plants are not all the same, it's a bit um, messy. Not messy. There's a lot going on in the photo. For instance, if we make this photo black and white, um, it starts to become very busy. So the photo is very busy, but not a bad photo. Okay, there's a few things that's a bit bothering. For instance, they're standing. I think he cropped the photo, maybe, but this is the raw photo, so I don't think he cropped it. He cropped it while he was shooting. So the awning, I don't know what you call this, the gazebo or awning, or I don't know what you call this in English. Um, English is obviously not my first language, but we don't see the whole awning. Okay, we only see a bit. So in these situations, I would rather crop it. Okay, I can't crop now, otherwise we exit the view. I would crop it that we don't see any of it. Then the mind doesn't go into all directions. I always say we want to have attention on the faces. We always need to draw attention up to the face. And so there's a lot going on in this photo. So posing wise, it's not a bad pose. The gentleman is standing nicely. I always tell my couples we never stand right behind the lady. That looks weird, and we don't see the guy. We just see his head popping out, and we don't want that. We always want the gentleman like this. He's standing a bit to the left of the lady, which is really good. Now, the arm of the gentleman is totally wrong. I would never put an arm over the lady. Okay, that's messy. The lady always gets the limelight, if I can say it like that. We always want to let the bride shine. Okay, and you can talk to any couple, and they will always say, "Yes, it's all about the bride. Make her feel beautiful. I don't care." But I always let my gentleman know that in order for her to shine, he must look also amazing. He must look masculine, and he's the covering, and he picks her up and all of that. Okay, so gentlemen, you're not alone, and you're not useless. there is a space for you. You give the emotions in the photo. So, but the arm here is not correct. I would rather put the arm under her arm, so his hand will be on her hip. That would be acceptable. Then we will see her arm and we will see her ring. Okay. The lady's ring is always more important than the guy's ring. Okay. But there are photos where we get both rings in and we make it beautiful. The other pose I like to do is I will have the gentleman's hand in his pocket, fully in the pocket, and that's very formal, and that would give him a more masculine stance while he's standing there. Okay, so that's the first thing I would do. I like the flowers here. I'm always weary about flowers, holding flowers, because it hides the dress, but we can see the dress really nicely. Okay, so now we get into the nitty gritties. So if we zoom in, it's not a tack sharp photo. So when we zoom in, you will see it's a bit softer. It's sharp, but not tack sharp. So tack sharp photos will be photos that you can see every individual hair on her lashes. Okay. That's when I know I've got a tack sharp photo. This photo is sharp, so the client will be happy with that. And we can see the beard and everything. It's not a tack sharp photo, but it's a sharp photo. And that's acceptable for me. So now, very, very important. If we look at the difference between these photos, in this photo, when he edited the photo, there's a lot of blue in the photo. Now, to the untrained eye, you won't see the blue, but there's a lot of blue in the photo. I can up the blue, and you will see when I up the blue, you can hold your eyes on this point here. When I go down, the blue disappears and comes back. Okay. There's blue in the dresses. So that's one of the things that's very difficult in editing and taking photos of a bride, because we have a blue sky and that blue sky reflects on the dress. We don't see it, but when we edit photos, it becomes very apparent. Okay. Now, I'm going to edit the photo like I would. Now, uh, the problem with his edit is, when he edited it, he obviously wanted to brighten up the photo so the background is more visible. If you look at the raw photo, it's very dark, so it's shoot. We can go to the settings, F5, and on 500 shutter speed, that's a bit high. Um, the F5 is acceptable. Um, on 85 millimeters, I would have gone a bit lower, maybe 2.8. On 2.8 at this distance, they both would be in focus, and they are standing very perpendicular to each other, so that's acceptable. So now in the editing, he tries to brighten up the photo, but if I go now and I just take the exposure up, this is what happens. Okay, we blow out the photo. Now, then people want to bring the highlights down. It's not enough. Okay, then we try to bring back the exposure, but the background is still dark. Then we bring up the shadows, and that's what more or less we're getting here. Okay. So, very important on skin tones, we never want the skin to be too orange. Orange and yellow is uh, almost the enemy in wedding photography. We don't want too much orange or too much yellow, especially on venues like this where the gardens are beautiful and it's green and green and green. A lot of that green and yellow reflects on the people. Okay, so I'm just going to reset this photo. So I have presets that I have over the years, that I created. Not all the presets works for every photo, but I have one, default preset that I use, and this is this one, the normal final. Now, again, this is with a different camera. My presets are tailored for my camera and the way I shoot. But with this preset, it will work for most photos. So I've applied the preset now. Um, so everyone needs to just know this. When you buy presets from people, you will never click the preset and your photos will look like that guy's photos where you bought the presets from. It will never happen. You will be lucky if that happens. You will always need to tweak the settings in Lightroom, okay, to get the photo correct. So when I look at my preset now, the darks are very darks and there's some lights, highlights that's very light. So I'm going to bring down my highlights first. Now we never want to do the highlights too low. Otherwise the dress becomes gray and it's not bad, but you can see in the shirt it becomes gray. So I lift up the highlights a bit. And then I play around with the shadows. Okay. In this instance, because the background is very dark, I will up my shadows as much as I can. Now that looks almost perfect. Okay. Now, very important, the clarity is a bit up, so I will bring down the clarity just a tad. So the photo is still sharp and we've got nice detail. Now, what I want to do is just lower the orange in their skins just a bit. We don't want to go overboard with this. And we do this. I'm on the color mixer and I always have my color mixer on saturation. Then you can manipulate every color individually. Okay. And that's what we want. So then I just go to the orange. Now I'm just going to over exaggerate it so you can see what it does. It takes away all the orange. Okay. We don't want to do that, obviously. Let's go to 0. That's how it was. We just go down just that bit. Minus 17. That's acceptable. She looks normal. So when we go on a normal, nice, natural photo, I always think of myself, how did I see that couple? This is what they look like. They didn't look like um, oranges. They didn't look like that. So we want it normal. So just a bit. I would even go there. We just want to take that orange just a bit away because we want the natural feel. Okay. And that would be my edit. I like a bit of the darks in the back. It gives us a bit more depth in the photo. This photo is a lot flatter, so it's flat because the exposure is too high. Okay. Now, a lot of mistakes that a lot of photographers do is they overexpose the dress. Now, we must always remember that this bride paid a lot of money for that dress. Even just to hire a dress is a lot of money. So we want to show the detail in the dress. Okay, so I want to see all the detail, especially where dresses are um, have a lot of lace and a lot of detail in the dress. I personally like these type of dresses. They're very flowy, so when the bride turns and stuff, the dress flows very well. I like this type of dress. Okay, then one thing I also want to do, and this is a new thing in Lightroom, the texture um, uh, setting here. So I'm just going to zoom into her skin because she's got a bit of a texture on her skin. We just want to eliminate just a bit. We just want to soften it just a bit. Okay. Don't go overboard with texture because if you do this, she becomes plastic. We don't want her to look plastic. We just want her to look a bit smoother, just a bit. Okay. that helps us because every girl wants to be look flawless in their wedding photos. So yes, that's a photo that I would edit. That's the way I would edit that photo. Okay, so let's go on to another photo. Um, let's do, this is the raw photo, and this is the one that Yaku edited. Okay, so this is the raw. Um, and again, to get this type of detail with an entry level camera is not bad. It's very difficult to get the diamond of the ring very sharp. So well done, Yaku, with that. I like this photo. I like pianos. I like putting rings on the piano. I would just have dropped the lady's ring to the side, so it's on an angle from the guy's ring. Especially if the ring is so big, I would drop it to the side so it leans on the gentleman's ring. It will give a much more flattering um, look for the rings. Now, rings are difficult to position. It takes some time and balance and all of that, especially if the bands are separate from the main ring, then it becomes really difficult. But it doesn't look like they are separate. So you could easily just drop the ring here to the side. Okay, so the problem with this is, again, the yellow in the photos are really, really evident. So bec- the reason we have yellow in this photo is because of the white balance. So the white balance, obviously, it's on auto white balance, and the camera chooses the best white balance for the situation, which we don't want. Um, it works. You can get away with it, but um, that doesn't help us a lot. Okay, so I'm going to edit this photo quickly. Again, I'm going to apply my normal preset. Okay. And if we look at the difference already, it gives a big difference. Okay. So normal final is my go-to preset. Uh, my wife actually said I must start selling my preset. Um, so yeah, if you want to buy it, let me know and we can talk about it. I haven't sold my presets to anyone, so it's a very exclusive thing. I don't think I'm gonna do packs of uh, presets, but yeah, we can talk about it. Let me know. So the problem in this photo is obviously the yellow. Okay, so we want this setting here in Lightroom is a very powerful setting. Okay, and this helps us. This is the white balance section. Okay, now, I play a lot of with the temperature. Now, this is in Kelvin. That's why I shoot in Kelvin, because even the editing program works on Kelvin. Okay. So you can see it's on 7,200 Kelvin. That is way high. So it's very orange, very warm. Okay. We want to minimize that. Okay. So let's go down to about there. You see, that's about 5,000. So that's the perfect look for this. Okay, let's just see with the highlights. We can bring up the highlights because I want the piano's fingers to be, I don't know what you call it in English, the stuff you push, the fingers. I want it to be nice and white. So that's a very good thing for me. We can bring up the shadows. I don't want it too much. I want it a bit dark because if we bring it up like this, your eyes start going into that direction and trying to look what that is. Okay. We don't want that. We want the attention to stay on the rings. Okay. Um, so the clarity, I won't go down with the clarity too much. Texture not in this photo. There's no skin here, but this looks like a great photo. Now you can see The diamond already looks a bit better. Um, it's much more sharper. Now, a lot of photographers want to sharpen their photos even more. Uh, don't do that. Sharpening here, if we go too high, um, you're going to start seeing a lot of little dots and noise and stuff coming up. And like that there, we don't want that. You see, we want it to be smooth and a nice look. No one will zoom in that much on these type of photos. One thing I always like to do is I like to bring in a bit of vignetting, just a bit, and that's the amount. The feathering I push to the, and the highlights also. So there's just a bit of blackness on the corners, just a bit. It just gives a more artsy look to the photo. Okay, so that is how I would edit that photo. Um, you can already see the gentleman's ring is more normal goldish than this one. This is more yellowish orange, where that is a bit more clearer gold. Okay, so that's good. Okay, next one. I really want to get to this shot. I want to show you this shot. So this is the raw photo. This is the um, edited one that Yaku edited. Now, the problem with this photo is this photo, the way it's shot, is not really made to be edited light. Okay, this is a low-key photo, low-key photography, which is actually an excellent shot. Okay, I like this shot. There's a lot going on. I would have wanted this arm not to be there. If this arm was there, there would be more white space. Um, but uh, on weddings, you can't always have what you want, because they need to get the girl in the dress and they need to hurry up, and people are getting the dress tight. So to get this shot is really good. I commend that. And the way I would edit it is I would do a high contrast, black and white. So I would do it like this. So we're going to push up the clarity a bit. You see so we want the highlights everywhere to shine. So we bring up the highlights a bit, like that. We bring down the shadows just a bit, and we play around with the clarity. So, and this dot here, I would just take away, and I just use Q. It's the remove tool, and just clone it out. If the clone doesn't work well, I go to the healing brush, and that looks perfect. Small things like that can distract the eyes, especially with this very bright thing here. I would also remove that. Okay, and that's removed. So that I would edit it like that. This is how I would edit it. So let's reset it. Now I'm gonna just fix this because in the photo here, there's a lot of pink and a lot of uh, magenta redness in the photo. Okay, we don't want that. Um, then her dress looks pink and she doesn't have a pink dress. So let's start off again with my normal final preset. Now I can already see the orange and the red is way up here. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my temperature down, 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 way down. See, 4,900 Kelvin. Okay, I'm going to bring up the exposure. Now you can already see the difference in the photo. I'm going to bring down the clarity because I feel this photo needs to be a bit softer. It doesn't have to be a very harsh like that, harsh shadows and harsh light. We want it a bit. I will never go below 0 with clarity because then it gets fuzzy. So I just go there at +2. So there we have that. So I want to also say the reason there's a lot of red and orange. Now I wasn't there, so but I'm assuming from this part here, the bridesmaids' dresses were red. So the red was reflecting on the dress, and that's why we get all this red in the photo. So we can go down again to our saturation panel here, and we can just bring down that red a bit. See, let's just see if the orange does something. Orange is not a lot here. There is definitely a lot of red in here. If I take the red all the way down, there's that. But like I said, I'm sure there's magenta. Yeah, look at that. When I take down the magenta, there's definitely, so I'll go a bit lower on the magenta. Purple, there's a bit. I can lower that also. But yeah, the red I will definitely go a bit lower with. So this is more acceptable for me. We can bring up the highlights a bit just to get the dress. Let's get it a bit brighter. So that's beautiful. See, the dress is white. So we always focus to get that dress white. That's why in the evenings, when the people are dancing and there's a lot of strobe lights and lasers and different color lights, you can't really do anything about that, um, because that white dress of the bride will soak up all those colors, and you can't do anything about that. So that's how I would do it. It's a very good photo, but if it was me, I would do the high contrast black and white. We can just edit it quickly, bring up the highlights a bit, and just a bit like that. So it's a more emotional shot. We can bring down the texture just a bit and the clarity, so it's a more softer look, but that gives more emotion. Black and white photos always give more emotion. Okay, so let's try one more photo. Um, there was photos that the colors didn't look really well. Um, this is good. This is a good photo. The guys, yeah, it looks good. They look happy. They would love this photo. Um, I can edit this photo quickly. Again, I go to my default preset. This, we don't want it too sharp, the clarity too high. We bring up the exposure, highlights down. Now, what I mentioned about the blue, you can see the blue in his shirt. We don't want blue. His shirt wasn't blue. So the way we eliminate this is we push up the temperature. Okay, you can see the blue goes away, but now they get orange and the yellow. So we just go down to our saturation and we get the orange down, and the yellow we get a bit down, not too much, because we want the greenery. Yeah, so that would be acceptable for me. That's just a quick edit. We can, again, because of her skin, we can bring down the skin a bit, the texture, and that looks beautiful for me. It's a good photo. Now, a lot of people forget about one thing. We always want to have the rule of thirds in our photos. So one thing Yaku does, and Yaku, this is a bit of criticism, constructive criticism. Most of your photos are in the middle. Your subjects are all in the middle, and there's now, I suppose there are photos that you took on landscape, but most of the photos are portrait. because most photographers, when they start photography, they learn portrait photography. Now, portrait photography is portraits, okay? Like this is portraits, and like this. Again, they smack bang in the middle. This is good. They in the rule of thirds. So go look at rule of thirds. I will be doing workshops this year, and we will talk about rule of thirds. Again, they two in the middle. Um, yeah, again, with this ring shot, the rings are in the middle. I would do a landscape shot with that and get the rings in the rule of thirds. There's scientific theories about why rule of thirds work, and they use it in the movies constantly. They shoot in rule of thirds. Again, she's smack bang in the middle. This is a difficult shot. It's very, very dark. Um, so if we bring up you see the noise. So this photo I will not edit. Um, this is, now you can denoise it. Uh, Lightroom has a denoise section here. Where's the denoise? There's the denoise somewhere. So I don't know where it is now. Oh, denoise here. Then it will denoise the photo. It will apply the denoise. It will take a few seconds. Let's hope it doesn't take too long. But when photos are this dark and when we shoot natural light, without flashes, these photos become very, very noisy. And if we look at the ISO is at 800. It's not too high, but in this situation, it's very high because it's a very dark room and the light comes from behind. Everything plays against this photo. And the denoise will try its best to get the noise out. There's a lot of noise. So noise is this, all these little dots. If you zoom in, there's a lot of dots and stuff on the photos. So then that's a bad photo. When we print this photo, it would look like that. And no one will want a photo printed like that. Okay, I think this is going to take a while because this photo has a lot of uh, data in it because of all the, let's just give it a few seconds. Let's just see. Normally denoise takes a while. That's why we don't want to have a lot of these type of photos because that will irritate the crap out of me because it will limit my editing time. Um, and it will make my editing time way, way more. Um, so yes, okay, I'm going to stop this. That's not going to work. So yeah, I would not edit this photo. Let's just see if there's something else. I thought this photo is quite nice. Um, it's not a bad photo. This is the original. So yeah, it's really not a bad photo. I thought we can just tweak this a bit, bring it a bit down, make it a bit warmer, and just bring down that yellow and the orange. Yeah, more or less like that. But this is not the raw, so this is the raw. So I would just go quickly and edit that photo, bring the shadows up, bring the highlights down so the dress doesn't overexpose, and bring the temperature just a bit down. And then we just play around with the yellow. We don't have to go too low with that, the orange. And that's a good photo. And I would definitely take the clarity down and the texture just a bit down. Okay, so that's editing. That's a quick edit of the photos. Yaku, I hope I taught you something tonight. And let me know in my emails, Yaku, if you have any other questions. But yeah, let's recap. We need to shoot in Kelvin mode. So we need to get cameras that has the Kelvin mode, and then we shoot on the same white balance. Then all the photos in that section will be all the same. And but yeah, to get skin tones correctly, that is how we do it. We manipulate the temperature and we go down and just equalize in the saturation part. Good. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, pop it down in the comments and I will gladly reply. And if you want your photos to be critiqued, let me know and we do it.